Hello, everyone, and welcome to Keeping Score with Dylan and Jack, a podcast show dedicated to bringing analysis of Rutgers sports and sports around the country. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Jack.
And today we're going to talk about Rutgers Baseball and their mammoth winning streak, Rutgers Basketball landing their first transfer of the offseason, and Jack's exploits in his intramural basketball championship game. I still haven't heard the story yet. The game was last week.
It got heated.
From what I'm hearing from everyone, it got heated. Jack balled out. I think it's something we need to address.
Yes,
but
for sure.
Got to start with Rutgers Baseball, who, unfortunately at the time of recording this just had their, I believe it was 16-game win streak ended at the hands of a 4-24 Princeton team. But, you got to admire the streak they were able to go on. I mean, especially against Indiana. A lot of late-game heroics. Got to call the game on Easter when Tony Santamaria
and what
Jordan
better,
Sweeney hit
what
home
better way
runs.
to talk about it than with our beat writer, Ellis Gordon,
Absolutely.
on the show.
It's good, guys. But, I think 16-game win streak is incredible. It's baseball, so it's always hard to get a win streak going. And I know Princeton are 4-24, but, you can lose to bad teams in baseball. You have to be on every single day. That's why it's so impressive about the 16-game win streak. Yeah, losing to Princeton, not ideal, of course, especially because they're our rivals. But they were playing mostly their backups, They were resting everyone for the really important Iowa series they got over this weekend, which could decide the fate of the Big Ten title. If they sweep Iowa, you have to think they've got the Big Ten title securely in the bag, unless Illinois and Maryland also sweep. But so I mean they rested their players. Not ideal, but listen, 16-1 over your last 17, you can't beat it really.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean. It's a real big improvement, too, last year from a team that in only Big Ten schedule went 21-23. So, I mean, they're going from being a probably mid-tier team in the Big Ten to one of the regular season title favorites, if not the regular season title favorite going into this series.
For sure. Them and Maryland are really going to – that series there that conclude the regular season before they go into the postseason, that might be for the Big Ten title. And expect both teams to be on their A game. But right now, Rutgers leads with Maryland. Maryland, of course, has 2 losses. Rutgers has 1 in Big Ten play, that is. Maryland, of course, have played 2 less games than Rutgers, so they have 2 more chances to lose. But, I mean, them and Illinois have really separated themselves from the pack. Everyone else is kind of trailing behind. Iowa, if they do good this weekend, has a chance to come back into play into the Big Ten title standings. But, we have to, it sucks we lost to Princeton, but you have to keep in mind, this was a team that was ranked 6th out of the 13 teams in the Big Ten. And now they're 1, and they're 1 by a full game, and they're top 3 by 3 games. So they're exceeding all expectations despite a tough loss to Princeton.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking more specific into this game, you can't get spotted 6 runs off the bat in the first 2 innings and expect even to win the game. I give Rutgers credit because they really came back and did a good job making it a game again. They scored, They scored 6 runs in the 4th inning, and they scored 1 in the 3rd. So they made it 7-6 in advantage of Rutgers. Kind of flip the script. Yeah. But it just going behind 6-0 really just puts you behind the 8 ball. Even if you put yourself in a position where you only allowed Princeton 2 or 3 runs, then maybe you're in a different situation, right? But overall, got to give Princeton credit. I mean, this is not an easy team to beat. We saw that. We've seen that for, I would say, the past 16 games. So,
yeah, no, for sure.
So we've seen that. And, they responded to Rutgers after they took the lead, and they scored 3 runs in the last 2 innings, and, they're walking away victorious. So you got to give Princeton credit. I said just before on the crew that I think that this is a blip. I think Rutgers has proven that this is a blip, and I got 16 games to back it up. So, I think this will ultimately be something that will act as a blessing in disguise maybe. It'll probably focus them up more as they go into this Iowa series, kind of like, a shock, like, hey, we just lost to a team we shouldn't have lost to. You see it all the time. You see it in every single sport. Sometimes you get overconfident. I'm not saying that they were, but I'm saying sometimes you kind of lose focus and you snap back into it and then you keep going. And I think that's something that could really be a factor here at this point.
Yeah, and before this kind of was, I wouldn't say a long time coming, but we saw the great clouds in the horizon when despite the Iona game, which was pretty much over after the 2nd inning, after they put up 11 runs in 1 inning. Against Indiana, they had to come back 3 straight times to sweep them, which is incredible. But they were playing a little risky with their win streak, which, I mean, you're going to do throughout the season. So, again, if you want to take a loss, it's to Princeton and not and not to a Big Ten team when you're in a close title race. And baseball's always been in the cellar. So I think we, as fans, we have to stop and smell the roses a bit. Realize their highest ever finish was 8. We're guaranteed to get higher than that pretty much this season, unless we lose every single game from here on out. They're projected in the preseason rankings to make 6, so a little jump from 8. And we're pretty much, unless we get swept this series, we're pretty much guaranteed top 4 unless we melt down. So we're exceeding expectations. We have a chance to make the D1 baseball tournament, the NCAA tournament. So great season overall, just a blip in the road, as you said, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a team with a lot of different prospects. Obviously, you're looking at the Big Ten. They could make a regional for the NCAA tournament. It'd be the first time they've done that in 15 years. And, got to think it's a team with a lot of transfers. One of their top pitchers, Jared Kolar, is a transfer. I believe Nick Zamillo, also a transfer from Manhattan. And, he's the best hitter in the Big Ten this season. And it's, it means something when a guy like Steve Owens can use the portal and really get a lot of experience to add on to an already, building crop of guys that included Evan Slight and Mike Neister and Ryan Lasko. And, just a lot of meshing of a lot of homegrown talent and a lot of experience. And I think especially Steve Owens, who's one of the winningest coaches in the history of the sport at the collegiate level, it really means something to have all that experience in one place.
On that note, with this huge series coming up against Iowa, Ellis, our beat writer, what's your prediction for how you think that this Iowa series will turn out? And then in general, based on what you've been seeing over the past couple months, how do you see this season ending for Rutgers at this moment?
Iowa, so I think Iowa is kind of the flip of Indiana. They're not the best hitting team. They can pitch really well. That said, sweeping is really hard to do. It's so hard to win 16 games, especially in baseball, where it's sometimes baseball can be so random. You have to be on every single day. It's so hard. So I'm not predicting a sweep. That said, I am predicting a Rutgers baseball series win, similar to Penn State game. They're probably going to drop one here or there. Iowa pitcher's going to pitch really well. I expect a 3-1 game. Iowa wins somewhere. But the Rutgers, I think, easily takes the other 2 games. And, yeah, they're probably, with a loss, probably going to drop from 8, probably down to, the teens. But that's okay, because the Princeton lost and 1 Iowa loss. And I project them going into next week in the teens. I think they're on a roll. But Maryland's been super hot, too. So, as I said before, the series with Maryland that closes out the regular season, that's going to be really, really, that's going to probably decide it, I think. Because I think either Rutgers or Maryland's going to be within 2 games with each other. It's hard to tell who right now because both teams have been red hot. Illinois have been red hot too, but they've got a harder schedule coming up, and people think it's a bit unsustainable. So I predict Rutgers Maryland final regular season series to win for the Big Ten regular season title.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Take it to the bank. I don't think is there sports betting when it comes to college baseball? I don't think so.
Not on Rutgers.
Not
on
Rutgers. I'm talking to 2
Probably
guys.
SEC.
Talking to 2 guys who definitely would know. So
I'm actually
unfortunately, yes, I would be the person.
So I am 15-5 in locks of the week, but I've never sports bet.
15-5.
15, but I've never actually locked my own lock. So I should have though.
I shouldn't have on Monday because I would have lost. So thank goodness I didn't.
Well, you know what sport has sports betting? College basketball.
It has a lot. I love the segue.
College basketball. There's some news in terms of our college basketball team. Not the women's, the men's. We have a new transfer. We have a new addition to the team. His name is Cam Spencer, Loyola, Maryland transfer. And based on what we're seeing here from the stats that I have in an article that literally just came out 10 minutes ago?
Just got published.
An article that we just published 10 minutes ago. He looks like a shooter. He looks like a really good player that could fit alongside Paul Mulcahy and filling that void of Ron Harper Jr., Caleb McConnell, and Geo Baker. Run down some stats real quick about Cam Spencer. He shot 35.8% from 3 last year. He shot 44.3% in his past 2 seasons, so he's definitely a good 3-point shooter. He led the Patriot League in points per game, steals per game, and minutes per game. And he also was first team All-Patriot League. So we're looking at a player who's definitely qualified at the mid-major level to make that jump up to the Big Ten. And, we'll see how Steve Peichel uses him, but definitely a good get. It says he's in the 9th ranked transfer in the portal, and he's also a 4-star transfer. So, Dylan and Ellis, how we feeling about Cam Spencer?
Well, I mean, I'm a really big fan of him and just the need that he fills for this team, which is like a natural scorer. Like, I think Rutgers has a lot of things that they bring back from last year that are still really good. Like, obviously, they're still a very tall team. Like, Paul Mulcahy will be one of the shortest guys in the court, and he's 6'5", 6'6". So it's really impressive. A lot of experience. I mean, Cliff Amori is coming back after having one of the biggest step-up seasons in recent memory. Like, I don't know if the Big Ten gives out most improved, but if they do, I'm surprised that he didn't win it this year because he really did become a much better player.
He really did.
But the one thing that Rutgers really lost when they lost Ron and Gio and possibly Caleb in the offseason is just a real scoring. Like, where is the production going to come from? And it's a big step to ask Cam Spencer to do that in his first season here against, like Big Ten defenses, which are often some of the best defenses in college basketball. I mean, look at like a team like Wisconsin this year; they were great on that side of the ball. But I think he's going to have to carry some of the scoring workload just because he seems to have the most natural skill set. Like, he's pretty good from outside. He can get to the basket. He's kind of like a 3-level scorer type of player, and I think that...
Have you watched film on him, Dylan?
I watched a little bit. I haven't watched, like, more than, I would say, probably 10, 15 minutes,
Okay.
But he's a pretty good player. I like what I see from him. But, like I said, it's how much can he take on, because Rutgers is replacing their 2 leading scorers for the past, it seems like, eternity.
Yeah.
At least 3 seasons. So we'll have to see, but, it's a step in the right direction, and for Steve Peichel, a guy that, may have been criticized for the way he used the transfer portal last year and in years before, it's a really big get.
Yeah, and I think for me it's a mixed bag. I think other than Ron Harper Jr., even though Geo Baker was a scorer, he wasn't an efficient 3-point shooter. This is one of the first times that other than Ron Harper Jr., we have a 3-point shooter on the banks, an efficient one. And I think unlike Ron Harper Jr., he spent a lot of time in the block and then going up for 3. He's a different player. He's more of a catch and shoot 3 kind of guy. So I think, he obviously can play off the ball, but I think he's going to space the floor extremely well on offense. Something Rutgers struggled with a lot last year, especially when Ron Harper Jr. wasn't shooting well. Then spacing got really bad. So that should immediately help. Cam Spencer should immediately help that problem that Rutgers had. I like the steals. Peichel always loves defensive players. Kind of seems like the MO for a Steve Peichel team. My one issue is that, it's the Patriots League, right? It's a mid-major. He hasn't really gotten much experience against Big Ten defenses, which are the best defenses in the league. And the one time he played actual competition, he shot 0 for 5 from 3. Obviously, it's one game, so a ridiculously small sample size. But suffice to say, he didn't play all that good. So, it's always hard to predict if mid-majors can take the step up. As a Rutgers fan, I have to have faith. I think he will, because 3-point shooting should translate regardless of where you're at. Obviously, more pressure on the ball, so it might be harder to dribble, but 3-point shooting should translate. So overall, I'm happy, but I'm a little cautious to see if he can get playing time. But I think for floor spacing especially, it's a good signing. A good transfer, actually.
I'm interested to see where he fits in, but I'm also interested to see where the freshmen fit in. Derek Simpson and Antoine Woolfolk will both be, coming into the program this year as part of this class of 22. So, if one of those players steps up, it could take time away. More specifically, Derek Simpson. But
I was just going to say that. Antoine Woolfolk, he kind of just, he was really into football before this year. He just started playing basketball, but he just started taking basketball seriously. I'd expect him to be more of a project for Peichel. He's probably going to redshirt freshman year. Maybe he can be used on an impact on defensive end, but I don't think he's going to be much on the offensive end. Derek Simpson I'm interested in. I think he's extremely underrated. I watched a lot of his Lenape high school tape, and he's got bounce. He can shoot the ball. When people say he's the next Geo Baker, I'm not saying he is, but his game style at least is Geo Baker-esque.
The parts are there.
For sure. And it's always hard. Again, high school to college, big jump. But just they look the same. If you watch Geo Baker in high school and you watch Derek Simpson in high school, they look the same. And that has me really excited. And I think he can make an immediate impact as an offensive plug and off the bench, and maybe even if he plays really good, get in a starting role if Caleb McConnell doesn't come back and need that shooting guard or second ball handler.
So here's my thing with Derek Simpson. we saw Jalen Miller last year. He carved out a role on a very competitive team in a very competitive rotation defending, right? But that's his forte. Jalen Miller's forte is defense. Derek Simpson and his skill set, from what I'm seeing, it's going to take time, right? And that's not anything against Derek Simpson. I mean, this is Big Ten basketball. It's one of the best leagues in the country, one of the most competitive defensive leagues in the country. Derek Simpson, we'll see, but I predict that it's going to take time for this kid to, really adjust to the game, right? And like I'm saying, that's not a knock on Derek Simpson. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. Like, this is a very competitive conference. I mean, it took Paul Mulcahy a little bit of time to get adjusted. Everyone's different. Jalen Miller, for all of his defensive exploits, was not an offensive player last year. We'll see what happens next year, but we'll see. And it's going to be a project with both these freshmen. Antoine Woolfolk a little bit more than Derek Simpson, but that's my question for Derek Simpson. How ready will he be able to really take the mantle? Because even Gio in his freshman year was not the Gio Baker that he was in his junior, senior, and fifth year. So that'll be something to follow, and just hope for the best with him. I really do think Derek Simpson will be good, a very good player for us at the end of the day, but it's going to take time, just like any other player, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think there are very few players that are ready as freshmen.
Yeah, for sure.
High school to college might be a bigger jump than college to the NBA. I kind of think it is.
Take a look at Amani Bates again with Memphis. I mean, he was this highly touted lottery pick, and now he's in the transfer portal. He didn't have the season that he might have thought. And one more thing I'll say about Derek Simpson, he's 18 years old at this point. There's going to be like 23 and 24-year-olds lining up against him, right?
Yeah, the meme of Gio and Jordan Bohannon both being like grandpas of the Big
Seriously,
Ten.
though, because Jalen Miller was an 18-year-old as well last year. And he's guarding Brad Davison, who's, 35 at this point? He's the point stands, though. Like, it's a wide age range gap, and an 18-year-old is not the same as a 24-year-old, so...
Yeah, a much closer age range gap when you talk about intramural sports here at Rutgers. So, Jack, I've been wanting to talk to you about this for a couple of days. I unfortunately couldn't make it, but I heard you balled out. I mean, the WRSU group me was going absolutely crazy.
What was your stat line?
Yeah, I think that's what we need to start with.
You know what the stat line was? I have a T-shirt at my apartment that says intramural champion. That's my stat line.
He's for the team,
I'm
ladies
for
and
the
gentlemen.
team.
He's
That's
all
cool
about the W.
It's cool you got to play Jersey Mike's Arena, though.
Oh,
it
awesome.
was sick, and I'll start with that. I mean, it's playing there. Like, obviously, it's different when you got like 8,000 people there, but it was a sick experience. Like, they used the horn that they would, like the substitution horn. They used that.
That's cool.
They had the scoreboard working where they had like the abbreviation of my team. My team was called Brick City. I made that up.
So
on
you
the
said
fly.
BRI?
BC.
Oh, nice.
BC. So it was BC versus, what was the other team? Like the dudes. So it was BC versus like TD, something like that on the scoreboard where it would say like RU and then like UM,
cool.
Michigan. So
yeah.
That was really cool. One thing that was funny is that you know those side screens where they say like the rebounds and field goal percentage. They didn't have that up. They had the Penn State stats. Like, because that was the last basketball game I was playing at Jersey Mike's Arena this year. So they had those stats down the line. But they had the score of, like, our game. So, like, it'll say, like, I don't know, 35-23. Like, that's the score. Yeah. But then it'll say, like, 45 rebounds and 18-56 from the field. And when the game was going on previous to mine, I was looking at that, like, there's no way that's right. So I'm like, what's going on there? I'm like... Let me look up the Penn State. Stats right now, and sure enough, like everything lined up.
That's a tough game to look at the stats of too.
Yes,
because Penn State did not shoot the ball well in that game.
We won it though.
We did win.
We won it.
Gio Baker defensive stop. That's how.
Of course.
On a senior day.
It was definitely great though. I mean, Jersey Mike's Arena is.
I heard you got in a scuffle.
Scuffle.
There's rumors just flying around about you,
John. Yeah. I did get into a scuffle, and the thing is that like anyone who's like seen me play or has like met me in person is know that like I don't do that. Like
I can confirm that Jack does not do that.
I have never.
Yeah, you seem very like subdued.
Never in my life have I openly done that in a basketball game. Never. Like I'm never like a trash talker. Like I just keep to myself and like usually just let my game do the talking. But like it was an unbelievable what was going on in that game. And my event was like kind of like just the start of it, like in the second half. Like the other team was like nice and all at the end of the game, but in the second half it was an unreal like fouling game that
like they were like done. They were like done.
I'm picturing like Pistons Jordan Bulls kind of game right here.
Sort of. This is what I thought. I think by halftime, because we were winning by like 12 points at halftime.
So it was like kind of over.
Yeah.
Not over, but like.
By the way, before the game, like everyone was like all the refs and stuff were like picking the other team to win. Like everyone.
No way.
Like my friend Dev, shout out Dev. He asked like one of the refs like, who do you got in this game? And Dev's on our team, and he was like, and the ref's like, I'm not gonna lie, I've been rocking with this other team for like the entire playoffs. And it was, I mean, it could like if you were at the game, I wish we had Eddie Kalegi here because he was at the game, but our Eddie Kalegi is also a Targum writer, by the way. So
and he works at WRSU because everyone from the Targum basically works at WRSU.
It's a family business.
It is a family business.
But yeah, looking at the other team, they're a little bit bigger. They had like 9 guys. We had like 6 guys. Mm-hmm. But I was not. Me personally, I was not. I thought if we did our thing, we were going to win the game. So, and that's exactly what we did. So once we were up by 12, I think the other team just recognized that like they weren't going to be able to hang with us, so they just started like fouling. That was my opinion.
It's messed up.
But like the thing is, it could have been corrected if like the refs like weren't just letting it happen. Like they're college refs, I get that. I'm not expecting college refs to be like these NBA Finals caliber refs. I understand that, but I think it got a little too out of control. And circling to that moment that you heard in the rumors, picture this. Picture Cliff got a rebound, right? Cliff gets a rebound, and nobody on the other team is back. Let's say we're playing Iowa, right? Let's say nobody's back in back on defense. Yeah. And Geo Baker leaks out, and he catches the ball in stride, kind of like a wide receiver, and he's got a wide open break throw layup, right? Nobody's there. Like Cliff got a rebound, he outletted quick to Geo, and Geo's got nobody behind him, and he's about to lay it in for a dunk or a layup, right? Mm-hmm. Now picture Jordan Bohannon's behind him, and Jordan Bohannon is grabbing his jersey from the back like this for 3 whole seconds, up to from like the opposing 3-point line to half court, and what do you think the Jersey Mike's Arena crowd would have been like if Jordan Bohannon's holding his jersey from like
a lot of people making timeout signals or looking for a technical foul.
So I naturally I was like, dude, what is this guy doing? So I naturally turned around and shoved him off me, like, dude, what are you doing? Get off me. And luckily there was no technicals or anything, like not even an intentional foul. I don't even know what happened, but like I was like what just even happened? Like, why was he allowed to horse collar me for 3 seconds, like down the court? And that's kind of the crux of it. And afterwards, I was like, dude, I shouldn't have done that. Like that's something I should have done. Like I like I said, I don't usually do that. So I was like, dude, like I'm sorry for shoving you. And then like the other guy's like, for what? Like we're sorry for what? And I'm like, for shoving you? And he's like, oh, like. He's like, oh, you're good. Don't worry about it or something like that. I was like, okay.
I mean, he had to have known. Like, he's had to have played basketball before, and he had to have known that.
He said he hurt his ankle, so like, if he said he didn't hurt his ankle, he wouldn't have done that. So I'm like,
I feel.
I
mean,
you did better than my team. We flamed out. We had this like dream team, 6'6", 6'5", 6'4".
Oh, really?
We didn't show off, right? And then me.
You were an intramural?
Yeah, B though.
For what? What league?
College job. This is actually embarrassing. We didn't show up. Like 3 of us didn't show up for the first game because we had something.
Forfeit.
So no, we played with like 4 men and we tied. And then the second game we lost on a buzzer beater.
Oof.
And then the third game we won. We actually played the Riot Squad.
Oh
no way!
No way!
We won 55-12, and
wow!
Great fans, but they brought their fandom to the game. It was actually pretty funny. But
they had like a Riot Squad for the Riot Squad.
I will say
that's pretty cool.
I'll say if this was a real game, they would have gotten teed up multiple times. Anyway, but then the final game we had, it was for like you have to win 2 games to make the playoffs, and we all showed up, and we were up 8, we were up 10. With 3 minutes remaining, with 5 minutes remaining.
No way.
And we blew it.
Oh,
tough season.
Like Ohio State at
it was a tie game. It was a tie game final. 6 seconds left. They had the final shot. They put it up. off back iron, and it's me and this kid going up for the rebound, much taller than me. So that's why I think we're like, he's a little taller than me, so I like slap it off his like fingers.
Yeah.
But then they called it out on me, so he couldn't have won. I know, it was tough.
He should have done.
He
should have done from the commercial. He should have been like, I touched the ball.
Over.
I touched the ball.
No, it was. I was like, I touched it. But so it's fine.
I know the A-League finals were all at Jersey Mike's.
Yeah, B leagues are not.
Should it? I mean, I'm not speaking for you, but you should have like signed up for the A-League like for a chance at Jersey Mike's.
Maybe.
That's what I think.
But
we didn't know at the beginning though. We didn't know at the beginning.
Jack, I'm curious. Like, if you had to rank yourself, we have a couple minutes.
Okay.
If you had to rank yourself, like in terms of like what number player you were on the court, like would you say you were the best player on the court, or like maybe like in the top like 3 or 5, like in terms of the games, the final?
This is a hard question for me because like I don't like to answer these questions, but I'll say this: at the beginning of the first half, and in the first half, they just didn't recognize that I was scoring
you were good.
Yeah. So the thing that's good because I'm more of a shooter, so I'll run off the ball and catch spots or catch the ball in spots and play my game that way. And when you're doing that and you're going against a team that doesn't know you can do that, you can really do some damage at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, because if you get wide open,
you can do some real damage. And I was doing that in the first half. I probably had 12, 14 points in the first half. Oof. And then the second half came, and the game kind of changed because, first of all, as I said, it really got physical. And then, secondly, they had, a dude, strapped me, the entire time, which is not really a problem. But then, since there was so much fouling, then, our offense kind of changed, kind of played more ISO ball. My boy Jason was getting to the rim a couple times. We played through our big Avas. So it was a different type of offense. So, honestly, you can affect the game in more ways than scoring, and that's what I was trying to do. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it's tough to answer that question, but I definitely say I was one of the best out there.
That's good.
Yeah.
You'll have to represent us in this elusive Targum WRSU game.
Elusive is a great word.
Oh well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think we.
Clamps on you, McCoy.
Oh, okay. I need to get back in the gym for that. I need to get some shots up, but
I'm not that good actually.
That's
Ellis, what's your game style?
I'm what you I'm a point guard, but I'm really good at passing. I've got okay dribbles. I can shoot. I'm fine.
You could play for the Targum in this game.
I could.
Realistically,
could play for the Targum.
You guys could get me on a transfer.
Yeah, maybe. Why don't you decommit from WRSU?
Maybe.
It's all on camera right now.
Open your recruiting back up.
I'll consider it.
Chris Akonis, if you are listening to this right now, we are currently trying to poach one of your players right now.
If I'm shooting well that day, I can play much better because then it gives me everything starts.
So
going.
You're saying we should watch you in warm ups and see whether we want you on the team.
But sometimes when I'm not shooting, it can be rough some days for me.
Hey,
But I'm a good passer. That's the one thing I'm actually very good at.
If this game ever happens, though, we got. I know WRCU is depth on us because we only got 6 or 7 players realistically. So, and I know WRCU is a lot more. So. It's gonna be a fun.
I think we got it.
It would/will be a fun game. We've been trying to.
It could be a fun game.
It could be a fun game.
Geo commentating ?
Actually, we do have some guy named Sia Mori at Scarlet Knights or Scarlet Mail at Rutgers.edu who sent in a practice article just before. So he said he was interested in playing. I asked him if he was down, and he said sure.
Yeah, he said
hopefully he's good. Hopefully
he said
he
wanted a golf fee. We already have Ryan Keene on that though. So
all right, we'll give him something else. But he said he's down to play in the game. So hopefully the Sia Mori guy is pretty good.
Yeah, I think he'll be all right.
Maybe.
But you want to take us out of here, Jack?
Sure. Well, thank you for watching or listening watching and listening to Keeping Score. We'll take it back in next week or so. And my name's Jack Pasea.
Dylan McCoy.
Ellis Gordon.
And you were listening to the Keeping Score podcast. Stay tuned for further content, and be sure to keep tabs on the sports desk here at the Daily Targum.